Hi everyone, welcome to the Windsor Star News Cafe. I'm Julian Revin with the Windsor Star, and I have some incredible guests here with us today. I have my co-host, entertainment writer Ted Shaw, and we will be discussing the upcoming film festival in Windsor, Media City, with program directors Jeremy Rigsby, Una Masna, and we've got a filmmaker in the house from Charlottesville, Virginia, Kevin Everson. So welcome everyone.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
I'm very excited. I'm very excited because there's an incredible selection of films being shown at this film festival, but this year is particularly special because they are celebrating the 20th anniversary. So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about how the film festival, how it began, how it's evolved, and what we can expect to see next week during the beginning of the festival.
Well, Media City is a festival for what we like to call artist films, or sometimes called experimental or avant-garde film. Mm-hmm. It's very international in its focus, so we're showing works from more than 20 different countries from around the world this year. Slightly more than half of the artists will be here. In total, we're showing slightly more than 70 films, and more than half of the artists will be here from across Canada and the United States, Europe, and other places in the world.
It's incredible.
Tell me, explain to me what a short film is, how an art film. What constitutes an art film?
It's sort of, there's a wide range of different things that we might show within that kind of category. Probably the best general way to think of it is the use of film or digital media as a visual art form. So you might see some things that are more essayistic or almost documentary in style. You might see other things that are almost complete abstractions. In some cases they are, like an abstract painting. And a lot of other things that might be kind of exploring film as a photographic medium, except one that can move in time. Mm-hmm. You might see some things like Kevin's work that is a kind of hybrid of what might appear to be a documentary mode and some things that also have to do with these formal qualities about time and light and so on. And so there's quite a range of things in each of the programs. Each program contains several short films. They average about 13 minutes long. Some of them are as short as 30 seconds, up to almost an hour in some cases. But each program usually has between 4 and 7 films in it, and we try to organize them so the films kind of relate to each other in a way, not really with a big theme, but somehow that they work together. Yeah?
And we also do a number of performances as well. I mean, we have filmmakers who come in this year. Bruce McClure, who's been here for, I think, is it his 13th year running? 13th
year in a row.
His 13th year at Media City. He will actually be performing with 3 16mm projectors for the opening night at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Detroit, and then also in the theater. And I believe there's also some local work which is featuring performances here too. So I mean, there's the kind of standard screen work, and then other things which kind of expand, the ideas or about what cinema is and what it can be.
To me, maybe I'm just sort of an average guy, but if I hear the word experimental, I think, oh boy, it's kind of artsy. I don't think it's going to have much commercial appeal. But I would imagine some of these films do have some
You'd be surprised.
broad appeal.
Right. We tend to kind of shy away from the word experimental. Jeremy kind of introduced it as artist film.
Right.
So, I mean, historically there's been, people call it the avant-garde, experimental film, but I think artist film is closer to where we're looking. And as he was saying, there is appeal, and a lot of the filmmakers that we've screened, over the last 20 years have gone on to, win, the Palme d'Or at Cannes, and show at larger festivals, which, are considered like industry or mass appeal, spaces or. But there is definitely something for everyone because the work is so diverse and there's so many different ways of approaching, and it's coming from all of these different places. I mean, there's something for everybody, definitely.
20 years on, I mean, are you surprised at the continuing success and growth of Media City?
Yes and no.
I mean, one of the things that surprised us this year was that despite the fact that we've been doing the festival for 20 years, and even though we have certain filmmakers like Bruce McClure and like Kevin, who we repeatedly show because we support their work so much, actually more than half of the artists that we'll show in the international programs this year are new to the festival. We've never shown their work before. So that, we thought, really spoke to the worldwide vitality of this medium, that there's so many people out there who are still working in fascinating ways, and we're still just discovering them even after having done this for 20 years.
And from places you wouldn't expect maybe to see this kind of work, from places like Tunisia and, you know, places in South America, you know, and so, I mean, it's not just predominantly American work or Canadian work. We're really seeing things coming from all over the place, so it's exciting.
I know from having spoken with you before, and we can get back to Kevin in a second here, but having spoken with you before, this festival has reached a prestige plateau such that of the 70 films that you ultimately chose, you probably had to winnow through hundreds of applications.
We had our largest submission, you know, amount of submissions this year ever. It was daunting, really.
How large?
Close to 2,000 entries.
Yeah.
And that doesn't
incredible.
include the things that we see, you know, through distributors. These are things that are coming through the mail, you know, from places far and wide. So yeah, it was a huge job to actually see, which is exciting. And I mean, we see a ton of work and a lot of good work that we can't actually accommodate and show because there is just so much of it. So we have really difficult decisions to make. You know, it's gotten to a point where we need to either expand it and be, you know, another week-long festival, or find other ways to accommodate filmmakers who are coming, which is one of the reasons why, you know, we've started this Mobile Frames residency series, which Kevin is part of, because we're really excited about, you know, promoting people making work locally, like local people making work, but also bringing in artists from outside to come and make films in this space, like to expand our activities beyond just, you know, the screenings that we do and other events.
So Kevin is the artist in residence. He's from Charlottesville, Virginia. How long have you been in Windsor?
I've been here since June 2nd.
And what are you working on in our city?
Well, I was working on well, it was when I got the privilege and the honor to be part of Mobile Frames, I figured out, well, I was making some films in the spring, and so I just wanted to come here and edit them, but then I decided I should take advantage of the Windsor, Detroit area and then make something here. So I'm making a film about kind of a love story with serial killers from the 1980s.
Oh, so, interesting.
A love story with serial
So trying to like kind of finish that up here, Sure.
Glad to hear it.
But you've been shooting on both sides of the border, right, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm shooting in Detroit and in Windsor, so it's been kind of interesting,
Okay, and you've got two films being shown at Media City. One's called Sound That, and the other one is FE26. Would you like to discuss these films a little bit?
Yeah. This is like a kind of a diptych of like films. I'm like originally from Ohio, Mansfield, Ohio originally, and then I was educated in Ohio, and then I lived in Cleveland from 90 to 96, like after college, and then so I like the whole idea of like Cleveland and what it has to offer, and it's different from Detroit and a different rhythm and a language, especially in the African American community. The origins are mostly African American and from the kind of Alabama region of the South, as like kind of a little bit different from Detroit. But here's I wanted to make two films where people would see what's on the surface of Cleveland, but not knowing what's underneath it. So one of the films, Sound That, is about the Cleveland Water Department and how they listen to leaks and stuff from above ground, but they know what happens beneath the surface. And the other film is called FE26, which is the periodical chart to iron, is where you have people like in Cleveland we used to call it Thieveland when I was there, and people like would steal, and it's very poor like Detroit too as well in certain areas, and so people would like steal manhole covers and copper pipings from like abandoned buildings and stuff like that. So they're mostly called scrappers. So it's about what you don't see what happens at night in Cleveland, so to speak.
That's incredible.
So tell us how people can just give us an overview of how people can see the films, where they should go to get tickets, and when this actually gets kicked off with a more or less a launch or press conference here in the Windsor Star News Cafe on Tuesday.
Right.
And
Tuesday, July 8th.
Tuesday,
Yes.
July the 8th. And the first night is actually in Detroit. So tell us a little bit about that, Jeremy.
Yeah, for the past several years, we've been working with partner vendors in Detroit to have our opening event on the American side of the border. This year it's at the Museum of Contemporary Art, Detroit, which is right on Woodward. And we've got music performance by an American composer named Alvin Lucier and a cellist, Charles Curtis. And they'll be followed by a multiple projector performance by the U.S. filmmaker Bruce McClure. So that'll all happen in Detroit on Tuesday the 8th. And Wednesday the 9th, we open in Windsor. First with, there'll be a bicycle tour from City Cyclery at 3 o'clock. That'll be led by Kevin.
In that.
Yeah, and he'll take people around to some of the locations where he shot in Windsor. And then that'll wind up at the Capitol Theater at 6 o'clock for our opening party.
Which is all free. All of it is free. So you can meet at City Cyclery at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, meet Kevin Everson, and then also another filmmaker that we have who's just arrived to start his residency, Fern Silva, who just got here from South Africa and will be biking along with people. And so, yeah, we end up at the Capitol Theater for the opening party, and then Kevin's work will be also screening on Wednesday night.
Right. And then every night until Saturday the 12th, all the screenings are at the Capitol. There's screenings at 6, 7:30, and 9:30 every night. People can pick up a copy of our physical catalog, which is like a 96-page book where they can see all about the work we're showing, or then they go to MediaCityFilmFestival.com and the entire program is online. Every program that we have is a pay-what-you-like ticketing policy with a suggested $5, but people can make any kind of donation they please to see any of the screenings.
And also, of course, if people can't afford it, it's free.
You can come for free if you like.
We try to make everything as accessible as possible. We don't want to have any barriers to entry to anything that we do. So, but making sure that we have enough seats, of course.
And there's plenty of opportunities for the artists to interact with the audience. The audience, the artists are accessible for the audience to ask questions, and then afterwards there's a social event every night in which the public is completely welcome to attend. All those sort of events are non-exclusive, so you can plenty of ways for people to come out and get interested and interact with all these people who are coming to Windsor from all over the world.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that is unique about Media City, rather than like a kind of a larger festival or a sidebar of artist film and a festival like the Toronto International Film Festival or New York Film Festival. Media City is really intimate, and we try to make sure that there's always as many opportunities as possible for all of the artists and then the volunteers and the community to interact as closely as possible and to kind of share in the festivities, which is really important to us that things happen at that level.
Naturally,
Yeah.
I would guess.
Oh yeah, and that's totally true, because sometimes when you have to go to film festivals like Toronto and Sundance, like everybody's there, but you don't see everybody.
Right.
Because there's a lot. But I like these like small film festivals in these kind of interesting cities like a Media City, where then all the artists are there, and people from the community, so you can interact with people from the community stuff. And every time when I come here, I know like I'm going to learn something too as well, and then it'll inform my work too as well. So yeah.
And it's for 5 days, beginning Tuesday, July 8th to Saturday, July 12th. So just to clarify, the entire film festival takes place in Windsor, but it's almost like you've got two opening nights, right? Tuesday, it's opening at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Detroit, but then it's also opening in Windsor. So there's, people can check out the films, enjoy some panel discussions, artist discussions, live performances, and check out the opening party, and participate in the cycling tour.
Yes.
My head's spinning.
It's
Exciting.
2 Christmases.
I know. It feels like
And we have
Christmas.
people here for a longer period of time, for some 4 and 6 weeks making films, which, in addition to the festival, Kevin ran a film workshop, which was completely free and open to the public. Fern will be doing that as well, so I'm sure there will be more bike tours with filmmakers and, opportunities, workshops for people which are free to the public, for people to learn how to shoot 16mm film and that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Excellent.
A
Lots
terrific
going on.
opportunity for all the students, the film students, the media students in the city at both St. Clair and the University of Windsor. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us.
Well, thanks for having us.
Our pleasure.
Look forward to it.
Good.